What's up? What's up? Welcome to another edition of What's Up Show. And of course, before we start the show, first thing I need to do is get my Red Bull right here and give me a swig out of that Red Bull. Mm, 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 mm. I want to thank all those people that are sending comments into the show. Thank you so very much. I really do appreciate it and all. And we're going to go ahead and continue with part two of the Manosphere. This is part two, and I hope you enjoy the show. We got 10 more points to start with. So we're going to look over here and we see that we have criticism of single mothers raised. That's the next thing that we're going to be talking about is criticism of single of the single of the single mother and raised by women. So let's take a look at this. All right. So we got a lot of divorces. The divorce rate amongst black people is like around 70%. So we got a lot of families, children being raised by single mothers. Now think about this. If the mother was divorced from a man, do you think that the mother has good opinions about a man or bad opinions about a man? Think about it for a minute. A woman divorces a man. Does she have good opinions about a man or bad opinions about a man? I want you to think about that. All right. Those people who think that a woman has a bad opinion about a man, and if she had a son, what would she be telling her son? Would the son be thinking that black men are great or black men are not so good? Would she be taking and telling her children how awful the father was? Now, she's got to raise this young boy, and she's a female. So, do females know how to raise males? Well, yeah, they know how to raise males, but do you think that the male will grow up to be effeminate? That means have female qualities? A woman can only think as a woman, and she can only teach and train with a woman's view. I see a lot of kids growing up. I was a school teacher for 30 years, and I could tell those boys that were raised by single mothers because they had all kind of emotional flare up, right? They couldn't handle a situation, and a lot of the boys acted effeminate. They acted like girls, right? Boys crying, screaming, and hollering, couldn't handle the situation, favored female situations over male situations, did not like men. These are the boys that were raised by single mothers. All right? Single mothers with the daughter. The daughter. When the daughter gets a little older, when she gets in her teens, don't she need to have her dad to tell her how men operate in life, right? Don't she need to have the dad to tell her that she needs to close her legs because boys and men's are after her box, right? But what if the mother is out partying and having a good time, is she gonna uh, exude traits to make her daughter act like a whore or prostitute? Will the daughter be, 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 be sitting out there trying to get men and use men? Will the daughter try to act like the mother and marry some dude and then divorce him and get half of his stuff, right? Would the daughter act just like the mother? I mean, is that a good thing when you're being up the upbringings here? Okay, we need to stop that kind of mess. Okay, we need to take and have a nuclear family where we can have the mother and the father in the family, and we need to have the kids in the family. And if the mother and father divorces, we can't have the mother poisoning the kids against the dad. Now, I married a Mexican American, and what happened to me? I'll tell you what happened to me. The mother poisoned the kids against me, right? So I divorced I think my daughter was like 9 years old and my son was 7 years old. And we got a divorce out in Kansas. So I decided to move back in with my parents in California. I'm a captain in the military and I'm moving back into my parents' house and living in a trailer in the backyard. I'm a captain. I've got 500 people in my command. I'm living in a trailer in my parents' backyard. My dad's a buck sergeant. Well, he was a buck sergeant. He's a Marine drill sergeant, and I'm living in the backyard of my parents. And he's telling me that I can't bring no women on his property. I can't do this and I can't do that. And then I kept reminding my dad that I'm a captain in the Army. And so we had problems with this. And then I met a Filipino who was having problems. She was a divorcee. Her husband died. So she was a widower. So I moved in with her. But it was a bad scene because she had a daughter that was living with her. She told me she had baggage. So now I got this daughter who's living with her mother and she don't like black people. And she would call me a nigger every chance she could do. When I went over to visit her, she wouldn't even open the door. Right? She told me I was a nigger and get the fuck out of her house because I'm a nasty ass nigger and she don't want me to be around her mother. That's the daughter that I had to live with for 25 years. And then she became a lesbian. So, it's a it's a bad thing. So now my ex-wife, she had two stepkids that I didn't know. Let me tell you about this one. Let me tell you about this. All right, I'm a commander and I'm out at Fort Riley, you see. And so in my command, I see this Mexican woman who can't put her hat on correctly. She couldn't put her hat on correctly. So I always had to show her how to put her head cover on. And she was real pretty too, big titty Mexican woman, and she was in my platoon. So she come crying to me talking about, well, I'm having problems and I don't have a place to live. So me being the platoon leader, I said, well, why don't you take, if you don't have a place to live, you can take and come live with me until you get your feet on the ground. So and so I gave her my address, and I'm thinking, I did a nice thing because I'm the platoon leader. And so I went home. She lives in Topeka, and I live in Manhattan. So I'm sitting there in my brand new mobile home out in Manhattan watching TV, watching wrestling and all. And I get a knock at the door. I go, well, what's going on here? I don't get people at my door. And I'm living on a Mormon farm too. So that was a problem too because they didn't like black people. They thought Mormons thought that black people didn't have a soul. But I was the only black person living on the Mormon farm in a mobile home trailer. They accepted me because I was a military officer. I was a lieutenant. So I opened the door, and there she is with two big suitcases. I go, oh, what are you doing here? She says, well, you gave me your address. You can live with. I can live with you. And I said, okay. So I got the suitcases, and I took and brought her in. And I said, okay. See, my trailer had two bedrooms. I said, okay, well, I got this empty bedroom here where nobody's sleeping in, and I'll let you move in there and everything's cool. She said, okay, that's fine. So she moved into my second bedroom, and in my main bedroom, I had a big water bed in there, and everything was cool. Okay, so then the next day, she's screaming and hollering, ah! I go, what the heck is wrong with you? Well, I just feel scared because I don't have nobody next to me. I don't feel safe in this room. So I said, okay, I tell you what we do. I'll let you take, and you can sleep in the main room with me, and everything will be cool. Okay? I got this big water bed right here, and it's huge. So you sleep on the left side, and I'll sleep on the right side, and everything will be cool. Remember, I'm your commander. I'm your platoon leader. So we can't have no hanky panky. Oh, okay, everything is cool. Okay, so we get in the water bed, and if you ever been in a water bed, when you get in it, it bounces around. So she was bouncing around in the water bed. I said, I said, Private, could you stop moving around so I can get some sleep? And she was bouncing around. Next thing I know, she bounced around. She was on me. I says, no, we can't do that. That's called fraternization. You're enlisted, and I'm a military officer, and there can't be no fraternization. So you need to get back over on your side. She says, but I'm cold and I need to have some warmth. I go, well, okay. But the water in the bed was warm, but she needed to hug me. So I said, okay, that's fine. If you need to have me for security, that's okay. You can have me for security and everything is fine. And then the next thing I know, when I woke up, she gave me a kiss. I kind of liked that, but I said, hey, you know, you're kissing me and all, and it feels good and everything, but can't be kissing you because that's fraternization. She says, okay. I said, Private, you just stay over there and remember the boundaries, and everything is fine. And then the next thing, we were tonguing one another. I go, wait a minute, I think we crossed the line here. She says, oh, yeah, but we can only tongue one another just once or twice a week. I says, well, okay. Then the next thing I know, my penis was out and it was in her vagina. And I'm going, wait, just pick a minute here. What's going on here? Why is my penis in her vagina? And I said, we can't do that. We didn't cross the line. There's no more love making. And she says, well, can we just only do it once a week? You do have condoms and everything. And I said, yeah, I do. All right. But that's only once a week. And then the next month, she says, well, we should just dedicate a week of just love making. And you need to take the condom off because it hurts my vagina. And I go, well, you well, she says, before you come, you can pull it out and nothing will happen and everything will be good. And I go, you mean before I come, I can pull it out of your vagina and everything will be good? Yeah, yeah, okay. All right. So here I am out here on a military mission. I'm in charge of hundreds of troops and I'm running a medical hospital. So I come in and I'm all ready to take and have another wonderful day. And my first sergeant comes up to me and gives me a cigar. Says, congratulations, sir. I go, congratulations on what? I ain't did nothing. Says, congratulations. Give me a cigar and pats me on the back, gives me a big hug, and he walks out. What the heck is wrong with him? And then several of my other sergeants come in and some enlisted people, and everybody's got a cigar. And I go, what the heck is going on with you people? And everybody's giving me a cigar and going, congratulations. I'm going, what the heck is wrong with you people? Why is everybody giving me a doggone cigar? I'm the commander here. Y'all need to get on your get on your stick here. You get me upset. She says, you need to take and go to the ward. There's a sick soldier over there, and you need to see him. I think she's a cold blue. Cold blue means that she needs life support and she's about ready to die. So I said, there's a cold blue. Yeah, you need to go over here to the ward over here in ICU. We got a cold blue in here. So I come over there and I'm all concerned and everything, and I look in the tent, and there was a woman that lives with me. She's sitting in there throwing up, and she looked like hell. I go, what the heck is going on with you, Private? And then the nurse comes over to me and gives me a cigar and says, congratulations, sir. I go, what guys keep saying congratulations? And I go, honey, I go, Private, what's wrong with you? She says, I got morning sickness. And the nurse says, yeah, she's got morning sickness. I go, well, what do you mean morning sickness? She's pregnant. She's pregnant. She's what? She's pregnant. I start hearing the Twilight Zone music. I go, oh my God. Now she's Catholic and I'm Catholic. And you can't have no doggone relationship and you're not married. So the next day, after we got out of the field, I says, look, we can't have this like this. First of all, this fraternization, I could lose my doggone job here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get married. So I was chewing some chewing gum, and I had the silver wrapper inside the Wrigley's chewing. I mean the Juicy Fruit chewing gum. I didn't have a ring, So I took the foil inside the chewing gum and wrapped it, and I said, "This is going to be our marriage ring." So we went down to Manhattan City Court, and I took and went inside, and I says, "How much does it cost to get married?" He says, "It's going to cost you $25." I says, "Okay, well, I want to get married." The guy says, "Well, like we can't get you married because we have to have a witness." He says, "You have to have a witness." So I went out in the street, me and my girl went out in the street, and we was looking up and down the street, people walking up and down the street, and was asking, "Hey, could you be a witness for a few minutes? Because we're getting married." And two or three people turned us down, but finally this drunk decided, "Hey, yeah." I said, "Hey, I'll pay you $20 if you come in and be a witness for us." And he's a drunk. "Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it." So he drug the drunk in there, and I took the foiled ring that I made out of chewing gum wrapper, and the guy said the marriage vows, and I put the chewing gum foil wrapper on her ring, and we were officially married. I thanked the drunk, gave him $20, and then I took her outside, and we went to McDonald's. Right? That was our honeymoon. I took her through a drive-through at McDonald's. I was yelling at everybody, "Hey, me and my woman here, we're married, we're man and wife," and everybody was screaming and hollering. And it took, and we got a free McDonald's hamburgers and French fries. And I think Ronald McDonald was there. Ronald McDonald came out, and we took a picture with Ronald McDonald, and she had her foil ring on, and you would think that we lived happily ever after. So we went home to the mobile home. This was around October, near the end of October, and Halloween is coming up. So now we're married, right? So I'm sitting in here, and she's over there in the waterbed, and it's Halloween, right? So the kids are coming knocking at the door, and I had a great big bowl of candy. And I go, "Ooh, this big bowl of candy here." So the kids would come around because I act like a fool, and I was had my scary mask on, and everybody was lined up and wanted the candy. Well, so many kids came to my trailer and wanted candy, I run out of candy. So then this this 9-year-old girl and this 7-year-old boy comes knocking up at the door. They look kind of black, and they were knocking at the door, and they go, "Trick or treat." And I go, "I'm sorry, I don't have any candy." And they start crying. And I seen the car sitting over there. I guess they was being driven by somebody inside. I didn't see who was inside the car, but the 9-year-old, 7-year-old boy was crying. I said, "Okay, I tell you what. I'm gonna go down to the store and get a bunch of candy, and I'll be right back." He says, "Can you wait for me?" And they said, "Yes." And so I got in the car and went down to the store and bought about $50 worth of candy. And that's a lot of candy. And I come driving all back real fast and everything. I get inside. I come up to the door. I didn't see the kids, the two kids. So I get inside and fill the bowl up, and put the bowl out there. And I'm looking around for those two kids, that 9-year-old girl and that 7-year-old boy. Just couldn't find him. I go, "Honey, did did you see those kids that were out at the front porch?" And I didn't hear nothing from her. She was back there in this, supposed to be sleeping in the waterbed. So I walk back to the waterbed, and I see a great big mountain of blankets. Now remember, she was just pregnant, right? So she's only like a couple of weeks pregnant. But then when I looked in the bed, it looked like she was 9 months pregnant because I seen this big lump in the waterbed and moving her. And I go, "What the heck is going on here? How can you be 8 or 9 months pregnant?" And so I went over and I go, "Honey, are you okay?" And I'm thinking, how did she get 8 or 9? Why is her stomach so big? And the sheets open up, and this face came out, and it was the face of a little boy. It was the same boy that was standing at the porch. I go, what? Wait. Twilight Zone music's going on. What is this little boy doing in my bed? And he starts crying and crying. And my wife is hugging him. And then out comes this 11-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl, face comes out, and she looks like she looks kind of Chinese looking, Asian looking. She's got Down syndrome, right? And she's going, Mom, Mom. And I go, what the heck is going on here? So within a week, I just realized I have a kid on the way, and I got two step kids. I had 3 kids on my platter in a matter of 1 week. The Twilight music was going, and I looked, and this I did not know she had 2 kids. And what she had done is she had divorced a black guy. So these kids were half black and half Mexican. And the kid that I was about ready to have with her would also be half black and half Mexican. And the boy grew up to be a thug. He was on the FBI's most wanted list. She was on the FBI's most wanted list. And my daughter, the baby that we had with my wife was a girl. And I finally found out that the reason that my wife divorced her husband because her son raped his sister, right? And they had issues with that. My stepson raped his sister. And then when my daughter grew up, my stepson raped my daughter. And I was about ready to kill him, right? And because of that, that's why we got divorced. You see that? That's single mother and single father situation there. And I'll never forget it. I'll never, ever, ever forget that. All right, let's go to number 12. Call out culture and tough love. Kevin's style included blunt, harsh critiques, calling people out live, shaming, or challenging their statements. So after I'm telling that story, I have to get a swig of Red Bull because I'm getting upset. But Kevin, when you got on Kevin's show, he would take and tear you all to pieces. Sometimes I felt sorry for the women, but you had it coming, right? You don't want to take and start with just a normal man. You want to take and do this hypergamy and marry up, right? We got a lot of wonderful black men out there that you guys are overlooking. We got Captain Saverhole. I used to be a Captain Saverhole, right? But that don't work. And then you got people like me who will do anything for a woman, but I'm too nice. I'm a Mr. Nice Guy. And nice guys always lose, right? the last thing that a woman wants is a nice guy. They like to have some fuck ups, gangsters, punks. They like people that are in prison. Now, there are a lot of wonderful men in prison, right? They shouldn't be there. So I'm not knocking anybody who's incarcerated. A lot of people that are incarcerated had me locked up for one night in the doggone jail. And who were my best friends? I was in a holding cell with 12 inmates. And who turned out to be some of my best friends? It was the 12 inmates that I was in a little room that was like 10 by 15 with one toilet at the end. But you know what? We bonded inside there. Everybody had an orange jumpsuit on except for me. We bonded in there and we were like friends for life. I really enjoyed the inmates. I really enjoyed those people that were in prison. And you people that are in prison, you need to just do your time and get the heck out of there. I really appreciate that most of you are innocent, right? And you just need to get out because you know this country started with slavery, and I looked around and most of the inmates were black. Why is that? Right? Now let's get back to this calling out of this culture and this tough love. You need to have some tough love, right? You need to. I've seen kids come up and talk back to their mother and father like they a bitch or a hoe and be cursing their mother and father out. When I was growing up, my father would beat the shit out of us, right? He was a drill sergeant at Camp Pendleton. He would come home and tell us to take off all our clothes, have us line up outside the room, and we would go into the room butt naked. And then one of us had to go find his strap, and he would beat the shit out of us, right? And while he's beating the shit out of us, he would go, shut up, whop, whop, shut up. And he would tell us that he's hurting more than he's hurting us, right? He feels more pain out of the beating than what we're getting. And that belt would be all on our face, all on everything, right? He beat the shit out of us. The movie called Christ the Passion and Passion of Christ was child's play on the beating that we would get. I would go to school and in gym, I couldn't even take my shirt off because the blood on the back of my back would make a scab through the shirt. And I couldn't take my shirt off because the scabs would form on the other side of the shirt. And if I did take my shirt off, it would pull the scabs off and it would really hurt. So they'd have to take warm water and put it on my back to break those scabs off. My father would beat the shit out of us day in and day out, right? We'd stand formation and he would inspect the house. He'd come home in his Marine drill sergeant uniform and have a white glove on his hand and have us stand out for inspection. We was only like about 5, 7, and 8 years old. We're little kids. Had us standing out in formation, right? And he would inspect with his white glove. And if he seen any dust, he'd wipe it on our face and tell us to stand over by the room and take off all our clothes. But we used to clean. We had to clean the roof. We cleaned in the attic. We cleaned underneath the house. We cleaned our house and the houses next door. Everything was spotless. So one day we thought that we was gonna make it and we wasn't gonna get beat. And he goes, Billy boy, go get me a screwdriver. And we stand there. So I went and got the screwdriver. He says, go over there by that TV set. So I went over by the TV set with the screwdriver. He says, open up the back. So I opened up the back. And then he took his white glove and went inside of the TV set. And we had these great big cathode ray tubes. and he wiped his hand on the cathode ray to the big TV tube inside and got a whole ton of dust. And he wiped it across my face and he says, "Get over there and take off all your clothes." Right? So that's how I got interested in electronics. That's why I know a whole lot about like electronics, because my father would beat us to death if there was dust inside of an electronic appliance. So I used to take them all apart and make sure everything was clean on the inside. You see, something, huh? So uh, let me go on to the next point. The next point is modern women versus old school women. Kevin contrasted modern women with high standards and independence and negatively against more traditional relational ideas. Okay, modern women, most of them, they're concerned about the career, their PhD. Okay, does their mate have six figures? Versus the old school women like my mother and my grandmother, who were interested in raising a strong family and and making sure that the things that were in the family were passed on. Uh, Both my mother and father have died. They both died. I don't know anything about the past of my family. I don't know none of the relatives. When they died, I don't know none of my relatives. I don't know where I come from. I joined ancestors.com to try to find out what's going on. But when my parents were alive, they used to tell me all about the cousins and second cousins and third cousins and aunts and grandparents. I understood everything about my family. But when they died, I don't know nothing. Nobody in my family talks to one another. I don't know who my relatives are. I'm real careful about who I date because I could be dating my cousin. I don't know anything. All those people, all his relatives, my mother's relatives are in Kansas, and my father's relatives are in Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And when they died, I lost contact with all those people. So the old school women would teach you all about your roots and everything. But nowadays, everybody's doggone head is just stuck down on a cell phone. Nobody talks to one another. You could have a girlfriend and you're sitting right next to her and she won't look at you because she's talking to you on Instagram or on Facebook or sending you a message. You won't even look up at her, right? How many of you? Go ahead and raise your hand. If all you do is sit there and thumb your phone and never look up. If you're the type of kid or adult and all you do is just thumb your phone, or you're driving a car. If you're the one that's driving the car and you never look up through the windshield and all you're doing is thumbing, right? Is that you? Raise your hand if that's you. All you're doing is texting and driving. Is that you? Have you crashed into anybody? You people that's driving the Tesla, you got a great big computer screen sitting right there in the middle of the car. You people that's driving electric cars, you got a big old computer screen sitting right there where you can be texting and all kind of shit. Is that you? Modern woman, right? Versus old school woman, modern woman. You know, I live right across the street from the doggone school. When I was going to school, I walked every place. When I was in elementary school, I went to Henry Wadsworth Longfellow School, right? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow School, the school that helps us learn and grow, a great school that all make us so. Longfellow School, Longfellow School. That's over in Compton, California. Then went to Walton Junior High School, and then I went to Compton High School. And out of Compton High School, I went to Kansas State University. And when became a teacher, I went over here to Cal State LA, right? Over here in East Los Angeles, right? Or I did go to Southwest College over there in Inglewood. There's a little college over there in Southwest College, and I did go to Dominguez High. I mean Dominguez College. I went to Dominguez College. That's where I was trying to figure myself out. But modern women, they're nowhere like the old school women, and that's the kind of woman that high value men and black men want. They want a woman that can clean, that can cook, that's submissive to their man, that will back their man up through thick and thin, and where they're a couple all the way to the end. That's old school women, and we're losing those. Those are your parents, your grandparents, and your great grandparents. All right, let me go on to number 14. Number 14, warning against feminism and woke ideas. Okay, Kevin was often critical of feminism, calling some of its tenets unrealistic, damaging to relationships, or misaligned with biology. Okay, just like the manosphere, right, where men talk about black women and all this kind of stuff, there's another sphere called feminism. So, a feminist has their ideas, that's all fine. I have no criticism of a woman that's being feministic, okay? But I do have a problem with them being woke, right? The woke idea, you heard about that, right? Where everybody's real critical on just every little single piece of shit. That's called the woke idea. I cannot go out with a woman who's woke, period. Politically woke, educationally woke. If you got the word WOKE on the end of it, goodbye. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be around you. I don't want to know nothing about you. Even if it's on black issues, like Black Matters was matters, Black Matters or some mess like that, right? I don't want to have nothing. I went to a Black Matters rally, and I looked around and everybody was white. They were talking about blacks need this and blacks need that, and yeah, civil rights and all this kind of stuff. Everybody in the rally were white people. I go, where's all the black people at? Right? There was no black person in this Black Matters rally but me. But I was able to get on the doggone TV, and I let them know what was going on. But yeah, anything that's woke is off my platter. Okay, let's keep going on because this is getting too long. The next one, masculine self. Masculine self, improvement and self responsibility. While criticizing women, he also repeatedly told men to fix themselves first, financially, mentally, and physically. All right, if you're going to be a high valued man or any man at all, you need to fix yourself. Okay, you need to go out and get yourself physically fit and get yourself groomed, right? Before you even think about fooling around with any woman. You need to start stacking your paper. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's, Burger King, Taco Bell, or any of them places. I started at Shakey's Pizza many years ago. Oh, I love that job over in Carson, California. Opened up the first Shakey's Pizza in the state. And man, I enjoyed tossing that dough up. I was the one who would entertain and throw that dough patty all up in the air and flip it all around and everything, and put that meat and stuff on there and them toppings and put it in a big rotisserie oven. It would rotate around and everything. I'd be serving beer and all kind of drinks and stuff. The baseball teams would come in because the baseball diamonds were right next to the Shakey's, and we just had party after party after party, country western parties, black parties, Asian parties. Oh man, it was so wonderful to work at Shakey's Pizza, right? But you need to take and realize that when you turn 17 or 18 years old, you're turning into a man and you need to get out of the house. I got people here that's living around me where guys are still living with their mother and father, and they 40 and 50 years old. They never left the house. And I know it's difficult to leave the house because trying to buy a house nowadays, just about the cheapest house is $1 million, right? There's no way that any of us can buy a house. I'm a millionaire, and it's hard for me to take and go out and buy a house. And I'm a millionaire. I mean, I live in a nice house and everything, but if I was to sell my house for like about $5 or $6 million, I would never be able to get a house like this again because the houses that I like to live in are 40 up to $100 million, right? But back in the 1960s, whatever, they were only worth $100,000. That piece of shit house that you're living in right now, your mom and dad probably only paid 10, 15, $20,000 for it. And now, how much does it cost? 700, $800,000, right? Same piece of shit house, right? That you was living in, that they only paid maybe about 30, $40,000 is now 700, $800,000. You got to pay what, $4,000 or $5,000 a month in rent, but you only make $2,000 a month. See, you can't afford. That's why everybody's living in their doggone parents' house. And if you don't believe it, go up and down the street and see how many cars is in each one of the houses. You got like about 5 to 10 cars, all on the line, in the driveway, all on the street. You got 3, 4 generations of kids still living in the parents' house because it's just too damn hard to go out and buy a house these days. All right, let me get off of this and go to the next one. Okay, the next one is incels, men's rights, guys who don't get women. Kevin sometimes addressed the plight of men who felt left out, drawing lines between incels, entitlements, and behaviors. Okay, there's a lot of men out there that feel left out. Okay, you men, what are you doing? You're sitting there on Pornhub, right? I used to be like that on Pornhub. Get up in the morning, you get on Pornhub, and you just be beating your meat, looking at Pornhub, going to the next one, XXX, beating your meat, and you get addicted to that, right? Like you're on drugs or something. Okay, that's all you can do is beat your meat and look at Pornhub and sleep and eat and drink, beat your meat, eat, drink, sleep, and you get in a cycle and you just get lost, right? Because the women out there don't want you. And some of you guys go, well, shoot, if the woman don't like me, then maybe I'll go love a man, right? So a lot of you become homosexuals. Same thing with you women. Since the men are so hate women and all, and misogynist, you start loving women. So now the women are loving the women, the men are loving the men. Now some of you guys don't even like men. You start having sex with animals, bestiology, right? You see that dog over there, oh, that dog looks really good. But that cat or that squirrel, you start fooling around and having love, making love to animals. That's not good. Plants, fish, you're just sticking that doggone penis in anything, right? It's you go crazy. And so we need to stop all that mess right there. All right. Guys who don't get women. The guys who don't get women are nice guys. Okay? Those are the ones that don't get the women. You got to be a punk. You got to go home and slap your woman around, misabuse her, right? Beat the shit out of her, and she loves you. It's something funny. When I was going to school, I did the right things. And I could never get the girl that I really liked. She always went out with the punk and the loser. Have you had that problem? Have you ever seen that all the women that got all the straight A's, right, that could be successful in life, they always got pregnant by some punk or some jerk, right? And they turned out to be a ghetto bitch, right? Have you ever seen that before? It happens all the time. For some reason, you women just like people that just misabuse you, right? A lot of the women I see, their husbands are in prison, right? They beat the shit out of them. When they get out, they're with them again. They beat the shit out of them, take all their money. And, you know, I tried it. I did. I said, let me go up here and call this girl a bitch. And you know what? I couldn't get rid of her. She was all on me. Oh, honey, take me out. I said, fuck you, bitch. And she was all on me, want me to take her out, left and right. I go, this don't compute. But that's the way you women are built. Number 17, projection, lies, and denials. Kevin accused many people, often women, of lying to themselves, projecting and being disillusional about their own value. Okay, a lot of you women look at the mirror on the wall. Who's the prettiest of them all? You think you're all that, right? And based on what's going on between your two ears, that's what you think you are. You think you can go out and do whatever you want to do to a man because you got a vagina. That's your power in life, is you got a vagina between your legs and you make yourself pretty, and women and men should bow down for your ass, right? That's all you do. You're a consumer, right? You don't contribute to society. All you do is consume. You suck. You're like some type of vampire, a negative vampire. You suck all the energy out of a man, right? Because you think that you're cute and everybody should kiss your ass and what have you done for me lately type attitude, right? You project these lies within your own mindset. You project these lies to other people thinking you're fine and everything. When a man takes you home, come find out you live in the ghetto, right? You live in a project. You got three or four baby daddies with kids sitting over there in the background. You get food like me, who had two kids, two stepkids that just showed up miraculously. And number 18, span of control, negotiations and dating. Kevin discussed that parts of relationships one can negotiate and where someone should hold non-negotiable. Okay, some things that you do when you're fooling around, whatever, that should be non-negotiable, but you should be able to work through it, right? Some non-negotiable things is being fat, right? If you're big and fat, you can't cook, right? You don't got a job, you don't feel like doing nothing, then that's non-negotiable, right? If you're the person who lies all the time, who's got like 5 or 10 boyfriends hitting on your telephone, and you fooling around with your mate, that's non-negotiable. When you take and go out to Walmart or Kmart or Target and you dress down your your mate, call him a motherfucker, a nigger, and all this kind of stuff all out there, your head going all back and forth and your eyes rolling around, and you acting like the dude in the family, yelling, screaming, and hollering at your kids and stuff, that's non-negotiable. When you take and go into your husband's or your boyfriend's bank account and take the money out and spend it on stuff that you want to do, that's non-negotiable. When you take and hurt other people's family members You go up to your boyfriend's mother and father and call her a bitch or a whore. That's non-negotiable while you're dating, right? Or when you take and go out on your first date and the dude wants you to take and pull your pants down and make love to you on the first date, you're acting like a whore. That's non-negotiations in dating. Okay, don't do that. Don't pull your panties down on the first date. Don't pull them down on the second date. You need at least a month or two, right? And you shouldn't even be pulling your panties down until after you get married. All right, let me keep going here. Number 19, mentorship, masculine brotherhood, male circles. Kevin sometimes advocates for men having accountability groups, mentors, communities as part of growth. No man is an island. Okay, you should be able to take. Oh no, you know what I didn't do? I did not take and push record. Oh man, or did I? Did I push record? Okay, we'll just keep going. All right. So if I did push record, I'm gonna keep on going. So number 19 is, uh, as I said, mentor masculine brotherhood male circle. He sometimes advocates for men having accountability groups and community as part. So no man is an island, right? You need to be with other high valued men. You need to get two-way communications from people that are like you and don't think that you can solve everything on your own. And then the last one, because I don't know if I'm recording or not, is legacy, respect, pride, masculine identity. Overarching many arguments is the theme of male dignity, legacy, and that men should operate with pride and agency. Okay? You're a man. Okay? You're a man and you should be proud of what you're doing and what you're saying in life. Okay? Always represent yourself as being a man. All right? So, but that said, I hope that I recorded this because if I didn't, then I wasted almost a whole hour on 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 this video here and I didn't record it. But I think I might have. All right, I hope you enjoyed this section or this show here on What's Up. Let me go ahead and take one last drink. Mm. And I hope you enjoyed this show on What's Up.